Fellas, it's good to meet you all. It's highly appreciated on my end for you letting me into a little bit of where you're at. Gabe, it looks like you're in a weight room. That could be your room, so good for you if that's your room. But yeah, guys, a little bit about me. My name's John Gold. I'm from the East Coast. I'm currently in Sturbridge, Massachusetts, an hour outside of Boston. I am currently serving as a therapist, and in addition to that, I work as a mental performance coach. So I work with athletes from youth to high-end college level, and essentially just helping their teams and themselves as individuals be their best mentally so that they can perform physically. I got into this position through a journey of coaching after my playing career. Went to Emmanuel College in Boston, which was an opportunity for me to play, coach, and do a little bit of like director of operations stuff, budgeting, getting equipment, talking with our staff. So it was a cool experience. Then I went into coaching immediately after my playing career came to an end. And just through coaching, high school, travel, college, I came to the point where I was like, man, the mental game, sports psychology is really what I'm most passionate about. So since then, I've been doing conversations like this individually with teams, and it's been a blast. So that's a little bit about me. I know it's a small group here, and I have a presentation prepared for you all. I like to think about presentations in the sense of the more you as an individual listen and engage and follow up on some of the conversations, the more likely your teammates and coach will do the same. So this certainly can be a presentation where I talk and then we're quiet and we don't talk to each other, but that's going to be really boring. So the more we can think about these things critically and ask questions and engage in a dialogue, the more we're each going to grow. So before I get started, I'm just letting you know we're going to talk about routines. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts before we get started? All right. So again, we're talking about performance routines. And when we're talking about routines, we're really talking about in-game routines. All right. So before I get into what is a routine, let me talk to you guys each about how I start my day. And this isn't an in-performance routine, for example, but it is an example of what a routine looks like. And the principles that we're going to talk about in the conversation, in the presentation, carry over. So my morning routine, fellas, wake up, brush my teeth, get an exercise in. Obviously, I'm putting in deodorant because I don't want to smell bad. I'm on the Peloton bike and I lift some weights. After that, jump in the shower, make myself a breakfast, and I have a coffee, right? I share that information for you, not to talk about myself because I really don't like doing that, if I'm being honest. But they're deliberate. They're actions that are in line that I do that get me ready for the rest of the day. Getting a workout in helps me feel energized. Getting that coffee, obviously a little bit of caffeine, gives me that energy. Having the nutrients from my oatmeal or my pancakes or my egg whites or my eggs or whatever I'm eating that day, a little bit of adjustable, but in a general sense, I know what I'm doing each and every step of the way before I start my workday. And it's a way for me to be ready. And so what are routines? It's a sequence of purposeful actions and or thoughts that you as an individual will engage in prior to a task. So some of the examples that we'll go through tonight are former big league baseball players going through routines when they're at the plate. I know some of us pitch, some of us hit. The two examples that I pulled, one of them is Troy Tulowitzki, who's a former big leaguer. Now he is a college coach at the University of Texas. And the other one is Aaron Judge. I'm sure you guys know who that is. Big guy for the Yankees. He's almost like 7 feet tall, 280 pounds. Hits a lot of home runs. So I'm going to show you guys some examples of that. And as far as routines go. Trying to advance my slides here. So with the routines, guys, we're going to set up our framework. You see this funnel and you see these letters, A-F-T-E-R. Routines in a general sense. I talked about my morning routine. Routines are ways for us to come in and out of performances. So if you think about an at-bat, you go into the first pitch. The pitch comes. It's a ball. You step out of the box. So you're stepping into the performance when you step into the box. The performance happens, release of the baseball, ball one, and then you come out of the performance. I step out, and then we transition back to pitch number two. So that's the emphasis of the funnel. You're going into the performance, you're doing, and then you're coming out. And you're doing that over and over and over again, each pitch of each inning of each game. So our framework, think about the word after. Arousal, so what is our energy like? What is our focus like? What are our thoughts on? Are we having productive thinking? Are we having counterproductive thinking? And are we emotionally regulated? Or are we feeling really frustrated? Or are we feeling mad or sad or you name it? But I mentioned the A, the F, the T, and the E, the arousal, the focus, the thoughts, and the emotions, because our routine should get us to a state in which we're addressing all those letters and then we're getting to the funnel of readiness. So we don't implement routines to guarantee us success, but we're simply guaranteeing ourselves of being ready in a better enhanced state that gives us a better probability of hitting the ball hard, of throwing a strike, of making the next ground ball play that's hit at us. So when you think about routines, think about the number one thing you're going to remember is, does my routine get me ready? After or being ready right now. Okay. So let's break down those letters. Someone speak out and just give me a shout because I can't see you while I'm presenting. But that Energizer Bunny, what letter do you think that covers? Do you think that covers the E of the motion, the T of the thought, the F of the focus, or the A of arousal? Someone give me a shout.
It could be A or E. I say A because of like arousal, like your energy level, but it could also be E just simply because it's energizer.
So you could feel energized. Sure, I could argue that as well. I think you nailed it with the A though, right? Like that Energizer Bunny, he's pumped up, he's going around banging on that bass drum, Energizer. So yeah, you're right. Give me your name. Who was that? Who just said that?
Hawk.
Hawk. Beautiful, man. So yeah, that Energizer Bunny is our energy level, our arousal level. So when we do a routine, are we at the right state in terms of our energy to be performing to the best of our ability? Some people think about the sport of football like to be really fired up. So maybe they're closer to, if we're thinking about a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 is the Energizer Bunny, maybe they're an 8 or a 9. What I find is most baseball players like to be somewhere in the middle ground, maybe a 5, maybe a 6, maybe a 7. Some guys maybe 8, but usually you don't want to be that fired up linebacker going in to make a tackle when you're coming in from one pitch to the next and you want to throw a strike, or that you're ready and you want to be able to put a good swing on a fastball. So that's the Energizer Bunny. The dart and the guy with the magnifying glass, what letter do you think that covers? Someone other than Hawk. Or with the telescope, I should say. Again, those other letters we're looking at is E, emotions, T, thoughts, F, focus.
Focus.
Money, who was that?
Oh, Gio.
Armando or Gio.
Say that again?
My real name's Armando, but you can call me Gio.
All right, Gio. Beautiful. Yeah, you see him focused. Is he looking inward or outward, Gio?
I guess inward.
Say that again?
Inward.
So is he looking inside of himself of how he feels, or is he looking somewhere else?
Oh, he's looking somewhere else.
There you go. He's looking at that external target, right? That's what our goal is when we're getting into our performance and doing our performances. If I want to hit the ball, I got to see the ball. If I want to throw a pitch to a certain spot, I got to pick up that spot. If I want to make a play on defense, I want to be able to see the release of the ball, and I want to be able to see the swing off the bat. If I'm a catcher, I want to see the release of the pitcher. So yes, focus, we want to be seeing a target. Okay? That thought bubble is obviously our thought. And again, we want to get to a place where we're thinking in a productive manner. okay? Sometimes we fall into this trap of thinking positive versus negative, polarized. But more so than anything, guys, just understand what are the thoughts that help you in your performance. It doesn't have to be positive or negative, but let's think about productive and counterproductive. And then E, emotion, as far as what is the emotion that you feel when you play at your best? Can we tap into that emotion? Is it joy? Is it excitement, enthusiasm? Is a little bit of nervous energy, right? Nervous energy doesn't necessarily need to be good or bad. It's just energy. So knowing what emotion is best for you and acknowledging that emotions and putting yourself out there the next pitch. And again, it comes back to our readiness. Let's get ready to rumble. So fellas, when you're watching this video, I want you to think about that acronym and that word after. Again, think about the first few letters, A, F, T, and E. Thinking about what is Troy Tulowitzki, former shortstop with the Rockies and Yankees, now coach. Think about what he's doing within his routine and which letter you feel like each of the things that he's doing addresses. So thinking about the function of his behaviors. Routine, guys. A series of deliberate actions, behaviors, or thoughts that get someone ready for their performance. So let's watch Troy Tulowitzki. Let's see what he does in thinking about what are the deliberate behaviors or thoughts that happen in this video. All right, here we go. Someone is overlaying them, but pay more attention to Troy here. Ignore this part. That's Paul Goldschmidt. All right, back to Troy. All right. Coming back at you guys. Okay, I'm going to stop presenting for a moment so I can tap back in with you guys. Okay, so first off, what did you guys notice? Like immediate thoughts. I don't want to go teacher on you and make you go one at a time, go around the circle. Just anyone speak up, unmute yourself and say like, what is the biggest takeaway that, or thing that you noticed?
We stepped out and took a breath.
Boom. What else was the biggest takeaway for anyone else?
Seemed like he moved quickly. So, like, he wasn't really a fan of taking his time. He was like, if he's in his mode, he's going to be in his mode.
Can you tell me more about what you mean by that, Hawk, as far as, like, his mode being his mode?
It's kind of like a form of focus. Like, some people focus fast and, like, others focus slow. So, like, if you're like, a fast focused person, like, you'll move really fast because like if you stop, like just say like you're a pitcher or something and like in your fast thinking pitcher, what's gonna happen is you're gonna want to pitch like the balls, like get rid of them fairly quickly to not really quick pitching, but like you won't take your time really in your set and you'll just do it because that's just how you focus. But if you're a slow pitcher, like you'll take your breaths, you'll go in through your wind up and you'll do everything because that helps you focus. So people focus differently, and he just seems like a fast focused person.
You're speaking to his tempo, I think, Hawk, and mentioning that he's resetting himself and slowing down, but he's actually slowing himself down in a deliberate, maybe even quick way, where some people might go a little bit slower. So maybe he's slowing down fast. I like it. What else do you guys see?
After he got back in his rhythm, he hit a yaya, well, a bomb.
You know what? I'm gonna jump in on that, Armando, because he smoked the baseball. But then what happened?
They got caught.
Right. So this is what I mean with routines, guys. And I say this to all of the athletes and baseball players I work with. If I had a magic pill that said, hey, regardless of what happens, when you step back into that box, you're going to hit it over the fence or you're going to get a hit. Here's a pill. Here's a magic bean. My job's done. It's not how this thing works. That's why I deliberately said to you guys, routines enhance your state and put you in the best position to succeed. It doesn't guarantee success, but it gives you an awesome opportunity to, because you're ready to go. So you nailed it, man. He smoked the ball. Maybe he smoked the ball because he was in a better position to hit, not because of just his routine makes him guaranteed success. It's a byproduct effect. If I implement a routine that helps me settle down or get to an ideal state, I then am more likely to commit to my plan. Maybe for Troy Tulowitzki, it's see the fastball and hit it, or outer third, or whatever. He can commit to that now, and maybe by being more committed, he's more likely to hit the ball hard. And by hitting the ball hard, as we know with analytics nowadays in baseball, the more likely you are to get on base. So I think it's a really critical point that you bring up, Armando. Thanks for sharing that, man. Anyone else?
I think for me, Coach, it kind of gave me like flashbacks. I'm like, all right, what did I do back in the play? You know, when I was at the play, like on the mound.
Right.
Same when I played.
Yeah. Yeah. So now let's dial in our focus on the things that he did. What do you guys see as far as what he did? And then we'll jump into what do you think that did for his performance? So what are the tangible things that you saw Troy Tulowitzki do? We mentioned the breath. What else do you guys see? I think we mentioned he stepped out first thing.
Arranged his gloves.
Boom. Right. Undid his gloves. Did he put his gloves back on at a certain moment? What'd you guys see as far as his gloves? Anything specific? Checked his grip, I'm pretty sure. Okay. I gotta get used to checking the chat box up here. Let's see if anyone else is sharing.
Probably resetted his mind.
I like that.
Was he setting
Reset
them?
his mind. Tell me more.
Oh, go ahead, Gio. Sorry.
Probably like basically like that pitch was like over with and just like trying to focus on this next one.
I like that, right? A letter that you'll hear. I'll have a second word for you that we're going to end with. But the letter and the word that you just said, symbolic. It's a symbolic movement where he's potentially, I'm undoing the last pitch and I'm getting ready to strap in for the next one. It's deliberate of I'm releasing it and clearing my mind so that I can go to the next at bat with a clearer mind. Awesome. We said step out, we said the breath, and we said the gloves. Let's think about that breath that he took, and we can watch the video again. Was there anything else that you guys noticed as far as his breath? We're looking at part 2 of the video then, if we don't get it, which is totally cool. All right, let's watch it again. Pay attention to all the movements he does, fellas, and then we'll jump back in. See, now. Yeah, Hopper watching it again, big guy, don't you worry. Wow. Okay, loading up. Presenting. Okay. It is a little laggy. I know someone sent the message. Let's try to work through it. Here we go. Gets out of there. Batting gloves. There's the breath. All right, and we know the rest of the tale. Smokes a line drive.
He looks at his bat.
Yeah, totally. So, looks at his bat, and why might he do that, guys? What do you guys think? No wrong answers.
He might have looked at his bat and, like, in his head told him to hit the ball, like, told the bat to hit the ball.
I like it.
Because it's a joint effort, but, I mean, the bat does the work.
I like
Like,
that.
he swing and the ball hits the bat and the ball goes off the bat somewhere.
Right. So those two thoughts that you guys just had are very connected. The bat is a part of your body when you're playing. And in order for you to achieve success, you need to feel like that bat is an extension of you while you're performing, and that brings you back to the present moment. He's hitting with that bat. So if I stare at my bat while taking a breath, and not to go all nerdy on you guys, but the breath brings oxygen to your brain. It slows down your heart rate because it taps into your parasympathetic nervous system. And for anyone who enjoys science, the sympathetic nervous system is what triggers when you're panicked and you're like, oh my God, I need to either run, fight, or freeze. So that breath slows things down. So by slowing down, and as Hawk and Armando said, while looking at this bat, it's very much so bringing that person right back to where they are. That plus the batting glove strap of I'm releasing last pitch, I'm blocking back into this next pitch, and now I'm going to take a deep breath on something that I'm literally going to use on this pitch is very much so, okay, I'm right here right now, and I'm going to go give it my best. And we saw him hit the ball pretty damn hard. Okay? Let's circle back to the front of this video. Why does Troy Tulowitzki step out of the box, guys? Why doesn't he just stay in there?
So he can do his little routine out of the box
Why is he doing his routine?
to calm himself down,
Okay. Why would he be calming himself down?
to slow down his heart rate and get his mind back and get his mind ready for the next pitch.
So, right, to take time and regather his thoughts. Boom, you guys are crushing this. So, right, the first step, and we're going to get to this word later, and I'm giving you guys some hints and some teasers right now, but something's going on, right? Like, if I'm not ready, I need to do something to get ready. So, to calm himself down, to settle down, to regulate his arousal, his energy, his thoughts, his emotions, right? Those letters that we talked about after, it's all about being ready in each of those categories or whichever categories are happening for Troy. Maybe he's worried, right? His thought process is about, oh, what if I'm nervous about that? He's going to do something about that. If he's focusing on the future, he's not focusing on the next task. We're going to do something about that. If he's mad about the last pitch, he's not on this pitch. We're going to do something about that. So all these things that he did are to address what's happening in that moment, not to get rid of the last pitch, to get rid of what's happening, but rather, I just need to get back to being me and being ready. So you guys crushed that. Thanks for bringing your thoughts to the conversation. I thought that was awesome. Anyone else have anything else before we move on?
Was that swing a check swing that he did?
Yeah.
Oh, those are the worst sometimes. Like, so that's like even more of a reset because you're like, dang, man, I'm getting fooled on this.
Right. And that's obviously I'm not having a conversation with Troy Tulowitzki at the All-Star game. But like, you got to think check swing at a pretty dirty pitch. Like out of the hand looks like it's just going to be right over the plate and then cuts out. Like he's like, oh man, like whether it's a nervous thing or like an emotion thing, like, man, that pitch wasn't even close to the zone and I almost just swung at that. Pissed, anxious, nervous, mad, frustrated, whatever was happening, right? Like he got out of there. He stepped away because that's very, again, the word I'll use again, symbolic. I'm going to remove myself from last pitch, step away, and then when I'm ready, I'm coming back to this pitch. So it's the last pitch to the next pitch to this pitch. We talked about this a little bit, but we're going to go a little bit more in detail. So I got a bunch of photos for you guys without words. I like presentations without words, really. So let's think about the word after again, right? Thinking about our arousal and something that we do to bring our arousal or energy back to a regulated or optimal, ideal state, right? I like to think about how energy can impact your body. So if we think about that Energizer Bunny, that 10 out of 10 scale, like that Energizer Bunny's loose, he's running around, he's banging on that drum, he's flexible, he's moving all around. Think about a 10 as like your wet pool noodle. Like if I'm really energetic, I'm going to be loose and operating freely. So maybe even more so than being at the 10 with your energy level, thinking about, can I be flexible? Can I be performance and loose with the proper energy? Because we know through research that energy and anxiety to a state in which it's too much or too little can make us very tense and rigid. I.e., for example, this plank here. So thinking about how your energy level can help you be loose, flexible, and operate and move your muscles, those quick twitch muscles that we need when we're performing. So that's the benefit of getting to the ideal arousal level or energy level. Okay? Focus. Again, if anyone's ever seen a game where, you know, an athlete steps to the free throw line in a quote unquote pressure situation and they quote unquote choke, a lot of choking happens when our focus moves from external focus on the target and it becomes, I'm going to hyper focus on what's changing right now. Uh-oh, my heart rate is racing. Uh-oh, I feel tense. Uh-oh, I'm nervous. And if we hyper focus on internal, we're more likely to panic and to choke. So when in doubt, focus out front of you. That's one thing that my mentor says, and he'll probably give me a hard time for stealing that quote from him. But it's true. If we can remain externally focused and practice focusing on external objects in practice on our free time, as opposed to always looking internally, we're going to be more likely to pick up the target. We're going to be more likely to perform. We're going to be more likely to hit the baseball, and so on and so forth. Okay? Thoughts. I come back to thoughts, and I'm going to use the same phrasing that I used before. What is productive and what is counterproductive? I think oftentimes we fall victim to saying, you got to be more positive, or don't be so negative. Well, if for Hawk, him saying, man, I didn't really play well that last inning and I need to pick it up, maybe that's really productive for him. Versus for Gio or for Jace, like maybe that optimism is really helpful. But it's understanding what words and language is most helpful for you rather than just falling into this trap of, well, I got to be more positive. So recognizing during the day, during performance, during practice, what thoughts get you to the ideal state in which you can perform to the best of your ability, and which thoughts take you astray from that. Emotions, guys. I'll say the same thing in regards to thoughts too. Your thoughts and your emotions don't determine your outcomes. So while it may be helpful to be able to regulate your emotions and your thought process to get to an ideal place, our thoughts are simply thoughts. They don't necessarily determine facts. The same things with our emotions. If we feel frustrated, it's a choice from that point forward what we do with that emotion. We can say, oh, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, so these next performance tasks, these next at-bats, these next innings are going to be a grind, and it's not going to be enjoyable, and it's not going to be fun. Or we can say, you know what, like, I am frustrated because I just took that strike two on right down the plate and I didn't swing. Okay, but that was the last thought. That was the last emotion that was happening. So what are you going to do with that to make a decision to move forward? So thinking about it this way, your thoughts and your emotions aren't facts, but rather they're signals, potentially, for you to engage in your routine. I feel frustrated, I feel tense, Physically, I feel angry. Emotionally, I'm thinking in a counterproductive way, like Troy Tulowitzki, or like if you're a pitcher, I'm going to step off the mound, I'm going to step away from the plate, and I'm going to try to implement some system and skills that we're talking about at the back end of this presentation to get myself ready for performance. Questions there, guys? Or thoughts? All right. Should have another example.
Hey, Coach, what was that? I'm trying to get that
Yeah.
quote down. You said emotions are signals to get back to your routines? Or, like, what, how did you say that? Was that?
Yeah. So rather than saying our thoughts and our emotions are facts,
Okay.
we're going to say, I experience a thought, I experience an emotion. If that emotion doesn't help me perform, if that thought doesn't help me perform, maybe that's a signal to tap back into your routine.
Gotcha. No, I like that because yeah, that makes sense. All right, I'll shut up.
No, you're good, man.
Yeah. I mean, I just want them doing more of the thinking and talking, but you know, at the same time, like I'm definitely taking a lot away from this too. So,
Of course.
I appreciate it.
No, likewise. All right, we got another routine, and this is the big guy. Let's see if I can get this one up. Here we go. Let's see if I can try to make this makeshift big screen because there's no full screen button on this. We'll go with that. Here we go. And Aaron Judge is going to talk a little bit in this video, guys. So listen to some of the words and rationale here in this video. He says that essentially he picks up dirt whenever he experiences counterproductive thinking. So I forget who said it, but we were talking about Troy Tulowitzki is like maybe he was having some counterproductive thinking. He was angry that he didn't make contact with the bat. With Judge, he's saying, I use this routine whenever I recognize that my thought process goes to, man, you should have hit that. That was a pitch that you could have hit. Like, you needed to do better. For him, that's very counterproductive and stressful for him. So for him, he steps out of the box. Coach alluded to it a little bit. Why do you guys think he picks up dirt? And then what does he do with the dirt? And then why does he do that with the dirt?
Doesn't he just drop it?
Throws it. He tosses that bad boy. Why do you think he might do that?
I think the dirt and just throwing it is his way of resetting his thinking, because it's literally what he said.
Yeah. He was maybe trying to release some anger he had. Love that, right? Like, again, Armando and you guys were crushing this with the Tulowitzki video when you guys said, like, with the batting gloves, it's very symbolic. He's undoing his gloves and he's strapping back in. Aaron Judge is picking up the dirt. Maybe it's that anger, right? That emotion. He puts tension into that because he feels tense and he feels that emotion. And then he throws it. I'm releasing all of that. And then I'm going to come back to the box when I'm ready. When I've released all of that tension and I've thrown that sucker away, I'm stepping back into the box when I know that I'm more relaxed, when I'm calm, when I'm ready to go. One of the quotes that Aaron Judge also shared was that he doesn't do this all the time. Yeah, Ryan. He said he doesn't do this routine all the time. In game, sometimes he said, mentally strong enough to just say, okay, I didn't hit that pitch. And that's okay, because I'm not going to be perfect. And then I step back into the box. Other times he said, I get so mad, I get so annoyed, I get all of this counterproductive thinking that I have to do something with it. Guys, the mental game, right? If it's something that can make you feel off, it's got to be something that can enhance your game too, right? And that's what these things are all about, understanding what's going to help you get to the best spot. Any questions on Aaron Judge? Coach?
I guess my one question would be like, what do you guys see yourselves maybe already doing? Because again,
Right.
sometimes routines, you just unconsciously create them kind of for the same purpose, I would feel. But I'm having flashbacks about my high school and college days where it's just like, yeah, I remember, sorry guys. I remember, I would always step out the same way, always hit my bat on the plate the same way, as a pitcher, always get up and kind of scratch the mound the same way. So maybe you guys want to make some commentary on what do you see yourself doing already?
You crushed that, because I'm gonna hit this last slide here, and you're gonna see that's exactly what this is all about, guys.
The routines I have just came naturally.
I don't show these videos just to say that, hey, the mental game is really important and you need to do it. I'm showing you these videos for you to start thinking about critically, if you don't have a routine in the moment, what it might look like for you. And I don't want you guys to try to be something and do something just because these two guys did it, but I want you to think about, if I'm thinking about these skills that they're implementing, whether it's telling yourself something productively, whether it's looking at something and then coming back, whether it's the breath and or the gloves or the hat or the wiping the dirt off the plate, as coach said, or the mound if you're a pitcher, or taking your glove off. These are all things that you can get in the buffet line. And it's just about putting the things on your tray that are going to help you eat it up when you step back out there. Okay, so let's look at this last slide, and then we'll get to questions and final thoughts. Get rid of that. Okay, so remember, after in that last word is readiness. Okay, so this is kind of like our final framework. What are you going to do to be ready? And this is kind of the process that it looks like. You notice that something's changing. You notice you're distracted. You notice your energy's off. You notice your focus off. You notice that your thoughts are kind of wonky. You notice an emotion arise. Okay? You notice that. What do you do once you notice that? You got to acknowledge it and allow it to be there. Because if we try to resist it and deny it, we're just going to try to quote unquote tough it out, step back out there, and then I'm going to think that something's going on with your emotions, your thoughts, your energy, or your arousal and your focus, right? So we got to notice that something's going on in order to address it. And then the A component to that, like allowing it and acknowledging it to happen, goes a layer deeper, where we got to normalize that stuff. In a 3-hour baseball game, there's no way that you're going to stay 100% focused and locked in 100% of the time that you're out there. So it's about being able to come back to that and not beat yourself up and get all judgy with yourself if something's going on. And then that S is all of those skills that we saw from Aaron Judge, the ones that we were just talking about, as far as like, what can you envision yourself doing? Those skills can be symbolic, like we've talked about. They can be settling skills, and they just get you ready. Again, they're not to get rid of the fact that you're distracted or what's going on, but just to settle yourself back in a way that seems natural and gets you back to that best state. Once you're at that state, you simply transition back to the next performance. Step back onto the mound, step back to the plate, and yes, get committed to your plan of action. First pitch fastball, I'm going to execute this pitch. Great. I'm going to see this fastball, and if it's not a strike, I'm not going to swing. Right? Can we commit to that plan and be where we are in that moment? So, as far as the skills, they're going to address that after component. But how do we implement a routine, and what does that look like for you? Thinking about this word, nasty. Notice, allow, and acknowledge. We're going to implement a skill to be symbolic and settle ourselves down. We're going to transition. And then, we're going to be ready back in that moment, and we're going to be committed to that.
I guess Lane and Esteban are really the only two that can kind of attest to this. But our biggest problem with the team last year was that we had some talented players, but man, did the mental side get in the way. And I guess my question for Esteban and Lane is, like, do you see, and again, Lane, I know you were late to the game today, but do you see how some of this stuff could have been useful to a lot of our players last year?
Oh, yeah.
And that's
like 6 or 7 of them that could have had it.
Yeah, and I guess that's the big thing why we're investing in this year, guys, is because talent only goes so long or so far. Like, you have to let your mind allow you to be successful, you know. And we all get negative thoughts. My God, like, I'm 37, I'm still getting negative thoughts. It's part of life. But again, I think what I took away from this was a lot of the recognizing those emotions as signals, trying to get back to routines, probably a little truth for myself, like, even as an adult, like, you know, I have to keep my routines in check and constantly be ready to change them as my life transitions, because you guys are in high school or getting ready for high school, and then the end game here is college, so you have transitions that you're going to have to make through the next couple of years, and your routines are going to have to change with them at times. So, you know, I hope you guys see this as like an introduction to, you know, something that you can use for a lifetime.
Yeah, and I would add to that, right? Like, if you look at Aaron Judge, for example, let's say he's in a spring training game and he mishits a ball. Maybe he does his standard routine, maybe he doesn't. And this goes to speaking to what Coach was talking about as far as, like, being adjustable. What if Aaron Judge is in the World Series in the 7th inning of Game 7, right? 2 innings left in the game. It's a tie series. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of people watching. And then he mishits a pitch. Like, you better believe he's probably going to go through his routine, and maybe it looks a little bit different. Maybe he takes a couple breaths as opposed to one. Maybe he puts a lot of that anger into that dirt, and maybe he throws it a heck of a lot further. So I think it's important to know what you're consistently going to do in these moments if they arise, but also to know, like, there's going to be situations that just are unpredictable, and it's about knowing what skill or what things you can do in these moments just to get yourself back to the best state, right? Like, again, it's not always about mental skills, but it's more so about, like, embracing the nuances that happen during a competition, right? Like, crazy stuff happens in the game of baseball, and it's kind of being able to ride that wave and just do what's best for you in these situations. And so when we get to meeting one-on-one guys, because I believe we have an hour slated for each of us, at least to start, like, I'm all about having conversations with you guys, figuring out what are the things with your mental game that have really gotten you to this point thus far as, you know, 13, 14, 15-year-old guys playing the game of baseball that you love. And figuring out how can we tap into more of that. And in addition to that, what are some things that we can do to kind of enhance your game when things aren't going so well? So I don't look at mental game as far as, like, let's fix it and let's get rid of the problem, but more so of, like, hey, let's meet, let's work on these things, let's talk about it, let's engage in conversation and figure out what's going to work best for you consistently in different situations.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Coach, and I think that's something, you know, let them sit on their thoughts for a little bit. A lot of this will come up in individual meetings, but at the same time, guys, you guys can choose a couple different ways to interact with him. Coach does have a couple podcasts that he runs, and he was mentioning before you guys got on about getting his website ready, so I'm sure you'll be able to reach out to him in several different manners through social media in the future too if you want.